Hello, everybody. This is Scott Roberts here with Jerry Hubble and Aria and Heath from customer service. So nice to see you guys all on this Wednesday afternoon. Hope that you guys are doing well. And we
Yep. Nope, there's my dogs, just on time.
it's like a dog fight in the background there. Yeah. So, anyhow, we're glad to be with you this evening, and we're still anticipating. We're getting really close, I guess, to the 500 member mark of the OpenGOTO community. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm thinking that tomorrow we will be at 500 tomorrow, and
Tomorrow.
we'll
Oh, wow.
now if we don't make it tomorrow, then I guess so we're still not going to have a broadcast on Friday this week. Is that correct?
Chances are no. We have, if the meetings don't go all day, then yes. But we do have, we have to do the company meetings from time to time, and this one is supposed to be a pretty massive one. So we'll see what happens. So,
So if we don't announce it tomorrow, it may be Friday, it may be Monday if we don't get there tomorrow.
yeah. Or you guys could just like get a couple of your friends to join, right? So,
Right, we could do it. Yeah, exactly. It could be, well, what we've seen over the last week or two is that after every show, we see a little burst of activity, people joining because we were talking about it, and we get new people watching the broadcast. So that's
right.
great.
Right?
Uh-huh.
So if you're watching right now and you don't belong to the OpenGOTO community, actually you can click the link in this post and go and join. It doesn't cost anything to join, and you just might be the winner of a very nice eyepiece, 100-degree, 14 millimeter or 20 millimeter eyepiece worth $550. I should say 500 because it's
That's
500.
right,
It's
500.
actually
It's
worth
off.
50. So.
Right, it's you're getting a little extra.
Then give them a little extra. That's right.
Do
So
you have one of those on your desk behind you? I see the
I
eyepieces
have a
there.
14 here. Yeah, yeah, I do. So this is the 14 millimeter, um, and you can see the size
Oh,
of it and everything. It's a pretty massively large eyepiece, 2-inch, 14 millimeter, 100-degree apparent field of view. It is, it is uh, air gas purged and guaranteed to be waterproof, and it's guaranteed. Actually carries a forever transferable, no fault uh, warranty, provided you register it. So, although we have
yeah.
people that buy this stuff and don't register it, I don't know why. You'll also notice too that we include a serial number on all of our eyepieces and on virtually every piece of equipment that would come from Explore Scientific has a serial number. I think we're one of the few companies that do that. Um, but I figure if you're buying a $500 eyepiece, you might want a serial number to go along with it, in case somebody wants to steal it from you, and then your insurance company can replace it,
Yeah,
right?
that's right. Yeah.
Our warranty, someone was asking me just recently, what would the warranty cover theft? And I can't cover theft. But we have replaced eyepieces that were in fact in a fire. And so that very terrible fire that happened in Paradise, California, this guy had a bunch of astronomy gear, including some of our eyepieces. His house burnt to the ground, and he was able to save the remains of his melted eyepieces. I mean, the glass melted on it,
Mm.
the barrel melted, and we replaced those eyepieces for him. So at least we gave him a little bit of a start back to recovery. But a really tragic kind of deal.
Right.
Um,
Yep.
so joining us today, uh, wow, we already got a lot of people checking in. Wolfgang
Good.
from Germany, James the astrophotographer, Billy Scarborough, Jim Norwood, Chalk Sta, Bergman Scooter is with us. Who else? Cesar Brallo from Argentina is down there with us. Bill Black.
Well, Bill.
Yeah, we're going to bring up a little uh, thing about tripods with Bill, right? So,
Right. Yeah, that's one of the topics.
not
Yep.
that we're going to, like tie Bill to a whipping
He
post,
just posted a recent message about his tripod. That's what we're going to talk about.
right? Tyler Bowman is with us, so that's great.
Okay, good.
Yeah, Michael Whitaker, Astro Beard's with us. Richard Grace, yeah. Um, Ansel Puri. Uh, who else? Dusty Haskins
That's yep, the
and
regulars. Yep.
Dave Ing. Okay, so Dave's going to be one of our guest astrophotographers, and Richard Grace is going to be one. And so I have sent out an email to you guys. You might check it. Maybe you've already responded to me. Uh, if you have, we need to get together and test, a Zoom connection, and so that we can prepare for our virtual star party. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, um, and who else is joining us here? Bill Black. Now I'm worried. Not as worried as Heath is. This is his first time to
That's
be
right.
on the air with us, so he is a little nervous, So, and that's understandable. But Heath, you've been with us for how long now?
Just at a week and a half. Yeah, so not
Can't
long.
hear you. Yeah, can't hear you.
How about that?
No, no.
We didn't have problems earlier. I'm saying.
Yeah, what happened?
Is that good?
A little bit, a little bit. Maybe, yeah, maybe you have to go into your settings.
Yeah, funky.
Oh,
Up.
I heard you that time.
Can you hear me? Wow.
It's popping in and out. Okay.
It's the webcam volume,
It
probably.
might be, yeah, yeah, yeah. Anyways, Heath has been with us for, I think, a little over a week, and he is learning about the PMC-8 system and all the other systems, the platforms that we use to track customers with their requests and repairs that might be flowing in and out of here, those kinds of things. So it's quite a bit to learn, isn't it, Heath?
Yeah, is it working now?
Yeah, right.
Is it working at all?
You got just a little bit of voice.
Man.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's kind of popping in and out. I don't know. Maybe it's the microphone, or you may have it an auto setting on Skype. So, by the way, guys, we're all on Skype right now. So, um, but um, and so Aria was with us. Both of these guys were in our first mentor meeting, which I'll let Jerry talk a little bit
Right.
about. But the mentor part of this is the internal training process that we have here, and it is also something that we'll be extending out as an educational platform for users of our products as well. I would even say that this show in itself is part of the activities we would do with Mentor, to interact with people, to answer their questions, and to give them more knowledge about their products. So,
Yeah, that's correct. The mentor process is we've been growing into this over the last 6 months to a year, trying to since we're such a small company, we really have to take take cross training very seriously for our support.
mhm.
We don't have that many people to do everything, so And it helps spread the knowledge in our company and help people mature in their career.
Right, right. The dog threw me off.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Anyhow, yeah, but you're absolutely right. We have people that come here to work with us in customer service, with QA, in all our various departments that we have in here, whether it's engineering or sales. And the thing that we hope for inside of our company is that we're giving our employees a great experience, and we want them to improve their skills. Whether it's interaction with the customer, or it's learning how to work databases, the multiple functions that would go on inside of a company. So I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Northwest Arkansas is really a great destination for business. We have, I think, three of the Fortune 50 companies right here in Northwest Arkansas, and with Walmart and Tyson and JB Hunt is here as well as far as logistics, and so it's also a great place to live overall, and yeah, it's Walton. It's the Waltons that have fueled the economy of this region. But clean air, clean water, beautiful biking paths, and caves. If you guys are into caving, that kind of thing, and astronomy.
Astronomy, right?
We have a thriving astronomy community here in Northwest Arkansas as well, and so it's a lot of fun. You guys have seen Kent Martz on our programs lots of times. Kent is the president of the local astronomy club out here called the Sugar Creek Astronomical Society.
I didn't realize Kent was the president.
He's the president. Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah, and he's also on the board of directors of a group called NWA Space, and NWA Space is trying to build a multi-million-dollar astronomy, space science museum and planetarium and observatory. They have a massive, I think Ken has talked about it a couple of times, but they have a massive 24-inch historic refractor made by John Brashear. It was saved from Swarthmore College in Swarthmore, Pennsylvania. It was shipped out here. It's just incredible. This telescope weighs tons, and 36-foot long tube, and all the rest of it. So the next time you're out here, Jerry, you'll have to check it out.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
And we talked about that'd be awesome if we could put a PMC-8 system on that scope and that mount.
Right. That's right. Bergman Scooter are commenting. They say great motorcycle riding also. They have, I don't know if they're going to do it this year because of COVID, but they have something called Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue, and it is one of the biggest motorcycle rallies in the world. Hundreds of thousands of motorcyclists show up here every year, so that's pretty cool. Curious what Bortle scale is in the sky at ES headquarters. Okay, well, not very dark here, Michael. We are in the middle of a 70,000 population town called Springdale. But not too far away from here, you can get to Bortle 2 Sky. So anyhow, Eduardo Simone, hello. Just received my prize from last week. Love the red flashlight. Thanks again. Okay, well, that's great. Great.
Oh, good. At least the prizes are getting out there.
Yes. Cesar Brolo said, yes, I thought that telescope was installed in California, but it made base in Arkansas. That's right. That's right. Curious what? Oh, no. Let's see. I don't see any other questions here. So let's kind of get started. We wanted to revisit the pointing issue.
Right.
And some people on occasion run into pointing errors with their telescopes, with their PMC-8. And Ari, have you run into any of these kinds of questions before with pointing?
Uh, somewhat. Completely, to be honest, I don't have the knowledge for it. So usually those are the ones that I had to run over to Kent and ask for help. So
Right.
I'm still trying to learn that one. That's one that I usually have to defer on,
All
to be
right.
honest.
When it's the pointing issue. Okay. All right. All right. So
Right.
so Jerry, what are the issues that people can run into that could create some pointing errors with the PMC-8 system?
So there are several pieces of information that people need to provide to the mount control system, the ExploreStars. Their location is the biggest part of that, in the time. And the reason for that is the way that the calculations are done to understand where currently objects are in the sky. You have to understand where you're on Earth and where your local horizon is. And so to be able to point and calculate the correct direction to the objects. And that makes sense because if you're, for example, to give a really easy example to think about is the distance between here, where I'm in Virginia and in Arkansas. The sun, for me, the sun sets before it does in Arkansas because it's low. It's lower in the sky right now compared to where Scott is. The sun's higher in the sky, and it's because of the time difference or the longitude difference actually. So that's a key point. Is one of the things you can make a mistake on is entering your longitude data. If you get a digit wrong or if you get the sign wrong. East and west longitude is indicated by a plus or a minus value on the longitude. So that's a prime example of what we see. One of the other things we see in terms of that is time zone. So if your clock on your device, if it thinks it's standard time and it's really daylight savings time, then you're an hour off, and that'll cause a pointing problem. And typically what we see is when people ask about or say something about their pointing, they say, "Oh, it's about 15 degrees off," which is a key value to keep in mind. 15 degrees is equal to 1 hour of motion on the Earth, right? So over 24 hours, the Earth turns 360 degrees, and if you take 360 divided by 24, that's equal to 15 degrees per hour. So that's why that's a key value to keep in your mind. If you see that, it's not a coincidence. There's something specific to that. The latitude is another issue. Latitude is kind of like altitude in that regard, in terms of how high the celestial pole is in your sky.
Right.
So if your mount is confused about, or your computer is confused about what your latitude is, or doesn't have the right value, then it will assume that the orientation of the North Celestial Pole is different, and the calculated coordinates will be different. So that's another key. That's why your longitude and latitude have to be pretty close. And then, of course, the last thing is time. So those are the three main things that we typically ask beginners. If they say it's not pointing right, then those are the three go-to questions that we go to, that we say to beginners. Say, make sure that this values are right. And so that's the basic thing that could be wrong.
Right. Okay. All right. We have some questions coming up here. Michael Whitaker. Actually, we'll start up here. Daniel Sanchez says, "Hey Scott, just saw your video of the 50-year-old trailer. You really pumped me up with it, and the huge white Maxitov Cassegrain. Fell in love with it. So I did put up a link so that you could go and check that Mac out. Thanks for watching our videos about that." Michael Whitaker says, "Sometimes I go to my first star alignment and it moves about an inch and I have to reset and everything works from there." What do you think?
It moves about an inch. What does that mean exactly? Is it, so he goes to the first object.
He goes to the first star. It moves about an inch
What does it
in his
mean? What moves?
alignment.
It moves about an inch. What is it?
I'm sure he's talking about the tube assembly probably moving about an inch.
After he goes there, then it moves another inch, or is it,
No,
you know what I'm saying?
sometimes I go to my first star alignment and it moves about an inch. It sounds like it's just moving not in right ascension, but in declination maybe to do the offset of Polaris.
So you say, is he adjusting it about an inch? Is that what he's thinking?
No,
Or is that what he's saying?
no. He says I have to reset, and if he does that, everything works from there.
Not enough information yet for me to think.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, Michael, maybe you can, the next time it happens to you, take down some information for us. Okay. We need to know what time it happened, where you are, how, your whole configuration, and if you can do that, maybe you can snap off an image with your phone or whatever, just so that we have that data. And then we try to duplicate that problem. Okay.
Right. If you could describe a sequence of events that you did
Yeah.
too, what step by step what you did to see that movement of an inch. I'm not sure what he means by moving an inch. That's the only question I have.
Yeah. Yeah. But the next time it happens, just get your smartphone ready and just take a photograph of what's on the tablet. If you're using ExploreStars, or if you're using your desktop, we need to know the whole configuration, and then we can get down to the bottom of that.
Mm-hmm.
Ken says, I went looking for PMC Configuration Manager version 1.05, but I have not been able to locate it. I can download version 1.03 from the website.
So I posted one. You should be able to find 1.04 as a beta. I have not. I'm testing 1.05. I said I was going to post it. I think probably I said it yesterday, but I haven't done it. So it's my fault that you didn't find it because I haven't posted it on the
That'll make
forum.
it tough.
So it's not. So I think it comes up. I think I posted it in the mounts forum.
Okay.
Under the files section under user contributions.
Sure.
And but I'll try to get that done here after the show to post the 1.0 because I've been testing it, and it pretty worked. There's a couple of minor things that I want Chris to fix on it, but it's good enough to test for people to try out and see how it works for them.
Sure. Okay. Mr. Thump 30 says, speaking of, does Explore Scientific offer GPS for the PMC-8 or have plans to? I can answer that one. The answer is no. If you're using a tablet, and soon if you're using an iPhone, because we'll have an iPhone version of this coming out pretty soon, you're using the GPS off of the the device. And to be very, very honest with you, I don't think that you have to be super accurate on GPS coordinates. I mean, Jerry can correct me on that, but I think if you're like within 50 miles, you're probably going to be close enough. What do you think, Jerry? I think you're muted.
Yeah.
Doing what Heath is doing, right?
You can see my mouth moving, nothing comes out. Yeah. I'm emulating Heath.
Yes.
No, that's correct. So if you're within, 50 miles is probably generous. Let me think about that.
You think generous?
Well, no, and that's not true because 60 miles, believe it or not, 60 miles is equal to one. What is that equal to? 1 arc minute.
Yeah.
So that's about 1 minute. That's about 4 minutes. No, not quite. That's 1 arc minute, 15. That's about 15 seconds in time. Let me put it that way.
Okay.
I think that's about what that is. So that's reasonable for time. That's a time error. So a
Yeah.
distance error is the same as a time error in terms of the tracking or the go-to position. So that's fine. You can get close. Within one decimal or 2 decimals on your longitude and latitude actually is what that comes out to be. Probably 1 decimal.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. But your time. You really want to get your time to within 1 minute because 1 minute is equal to 1/4 of a degree of motion. So you could be up to 1/4 of a degree off if you're 1 minute off in your time setting.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what's more important about your GPS is to make sure, or if you have your tablet connected to the internet and then you connect it to the PMC-8, then your time, as long as your time has been synchronized recently, then you'll be within a minute of the correct time. But time is actually more sensitive. It's more sensitive to time than it is to location based on that in terms of error. So keep that in mind. 1 minute of time error is equal to 1/4 of a degree,
Okay.
which could put you outside or on the edge of an eyepiece compared to being in the center of an eyepiece, depending on what you're using.
That's very true, especially
So that's
medium to high magnification
right.
on the eyepiece, and may turn out to be a problem if you have a smaller chip on your camera,
Right.
something like that.
Right.
Billy Scarborough says valuable information for a beginner right there. I'm a surveyor, so I'm familiar with coordinates. And what other Astro Beard says all CosmoQuest weekend. The commercial had that scope. Oh, he's talking about the Maxutov. Yeah, we do try to tease people with our equipment sometimes. So that's part of the fun. Michael Whitaker, when he said about an inch, he said it's in declination after polar alignment. What is that? Is that a cat?
No,
With a long nose and pointy ears?
that's one of my little dogs.
Oh, your little dog. Okay, is that the thing that barks all the time?
She doesn't bark so much. It's one of the other ones.
Oh, I see. Uh-huh.
She likes to come up and sit with me every once in a while. I don't know why she's just right now.
Right. Hey, Heath, since you can't talk, why don't you go into the showroom and get the ED or the Maxitov 152, okay? The 6-inch Maxitov out of the showroom.
Can you hear me now? I tried to.
We hear you just a little bit. Just go into the showroom and get the Mac and just bring it in here to me. Okay? Okay. That's great. Okay. All right. Lots of chatter back and forth here.
Yeah, good.
Eduardo Simone says Jerry is a little dog guy. Go figure.
Yeah.
Is that like a slam or something? Hey, I'm the little dog guy versus a big dog guy.
We've had a lot of different dogs, but yeah, typically medium to small is what our dogs have been over the years. Mm-hmm.
Right. All right. So one of the other topics we wanted to bring up was the tripod issue, and that has to do with it's an assembly issue. Okay, when you're assembling the tripods, depending on which model it is, our medium to heavy duty tripods have a spreader bar, and the spreader bar piece, I can show it to you on this mount over here. Maybe I actually did show it at one time. We were trying to decide whether we had shown this or not. These are.
Yeah, I think that's what Bill Black is talking about in his post today that I'll show on the screen here in a few minutes. But basically, how to put the thing together and make it tight is what the question is for beginners.
So, okay. So a lot of people, when they're assembling this, they will they will put in the T bar, or this T handle threaded rod through the top of the tripod. But there's also like this little um, shoulder washer, which unfortunately I can't quite show you very well here, but it is located right right here. Okay.
Yeah, I could see it. It's a little
And
dot
that
there.
little
That's
dot right there, right?
yeah,
Okay, so that
yeah.
needs to be in place. And then what happens is that you come up with the spreader bar, and you just lift the whole tripod up off the ground with the spreader bar itself. Once you kind of have this thing tightening down on the top of the to the mount itself, and then you've got this silver nut right here that you just tighten up, and you just wiggle the tripod legs a little bit, and then these little spreader bar tangs right here fit on each one of the legs, and it spreads it out correctly. And this is pushing the legs out, okay, while we have a resistance point that's right up here at the top here. And this gives a dynamic tension to the tripod. Makes it very, very strong, very stable.
It makes it's important to understand you have to free the legs at the bottom. You don't want it on the ground while you're tightening it up. You want to lift it because it frees the legs to be able to spread out as far as they can go.
No, it's fine. It's fine. So Heath is just now handing this off to me, but you guys wanted to see our 6-inch Mac here. And so you can see this has a 2-inch focuser on it. It has beautiful coatings on the corrector plate, and this one is a 1900 millimeter focal length scope, and that's the system right there.
That's great for planetary lunar imaging.
Yeah. Oh yeah, very nice little instrument, and portable, compact. So, but that's my show and tell for the day. So. So, anyways,
Well, let me go back. Let me share my screen and go to Bill's message.
Okay.
Let me make sure it's. I think it's on the Mount subforum subgroup. Hold on a second.
And thanks for bringing that to me, Heath.
Yeah, definitely. Can you hear me at all? I'm trying, man.
It's like popping in and out. It's called a technical glitch. That's all it is. Okay, so we're going to share your screen now. Here we go.
Okay, Bill, can you see it? Let me zoom in.
This is Bill Black's post here.
Bill Black's post from, let me see, when was it? This is from July 26th, so this is 3 days ago. He posted this. So he says he started noticing a random jump on his deck axis while guiding with an audible bump. It was random, and it reminded him of a sound going through his tripod legs, like he was tightening them down. So that's a clue.
Mm-hmm.
And he's pretty sure the culprit was the tripod spreader loosening or tilting in some way.
Yeah. So you can have if you're assembling the tripod and you're keeping the legs on the ground, once it has kind of that footing, then it's hard to get all the contact points right on the spreader bar itself. In fact, in the photograph, it looked like there was some space between one of the spreader bar points.
Well, what he did here was he created his own spreader with these clamps and the circular plate.
I see.
And you can see he's loosened it up here. It's not in the. So he created his own version of a spreader that's down closer to the bottom.
I see.
And these pictures are really big. I guess this is kind of what he's trying to show. I don't know.
Oh, wow.
That's the hinge point, very close to the hinge point. But
Nice work, Bill.
But that's what he's done with his system. And Bill's on the in the audience right now, right? So
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
mhm. And you can
In
see the
fact, he's
bottom of the
asking
plate.
about the MaxiTom. He says, "How about a compare and contrast to an SET?" Oh, I just realized I need to clean my shop.
Oh, right there. Yeah, I don't want to show that
Yeah.
anymore.
And Tyler Bowman says, "Get closer to the camera microphone." So I
Mhm.
think his voice was fine earlier. So we don't know what happened really.
Yeah, right.
Um, uh, but yeah, and someone else asked about the back cell of the Mac 152, which does not have a threaded back cell. Okay, here, let me pull up my camera here. Here we go. All right, so you can see the back of it doesn't have a threaded back cell. It's got a rack and pinion focuser, okay? And then you would attach on this diagonal, it slides in, or you would attach on a camera adapter. So that's how that works. Yeah. Vinny is watching on YouTube. He says, "My dream is to have a telescope really cheap. Too bad that Brazil does not encourage science. Here we have a miserable life and everything good only the rich can do." That's not true, Vinny. We do know people that are involved in educational outreach in Brazil. Um, it may be just a local problem where you're at, but there is a very, very famous guy down there, down in Brazil. His name is Marcelo Souza. And so you're going to want to look him up. He runs also a daily video broadcast, and I've been on his show before, once or twice. And so but he does a lot of educational outreach, which he doesn't charge a dime for. So that's something to check out. Okay. We wanted to talk also about the Meridian flip in ExploreStars. What is it? What is a Meridian flip?
So in an equatorial mount, a German equatorial mount specifically, when you're tracking across the sky, uh, the counterweight will be on one side, and the telescope will be on the other side. And typically, depending on when you're pointing to the west of so the meridian is dead south. That's the line that goes from south on the horizon. So if you're facing south on the horizon and you draw a line vertically straight up through the zenith, that's the meridian. That's the meridian. And so you're either going to have an object that's on the eastern side of the meridian or on the western side of the meridian. And so when you're pointing the telescope with a German equatorial mount on the eastern side of the meridian, you've got the declination at a certain angle, and then you've got the right ascension at a certain angle. It's the counterweight is at an angle. The counterweight bar is at an angle, and it'll track. So the counterweight will be on the western side of the pier or the tripod. So basically, what you say is that the telescope is east pointing west. So the telescope is on the opposite side of where it's pointing in that configuration. So as the object rises in the east and you track it across the sky, you're counteracting the rotation of the Earth, okay? And it's coming along, and it gets up to when it gets to the meridian, that's the highest point in the sky that the object is on the meridian, directly south. And then, as you notice, if you notice the way the mount tracks, the counterweight bar will go from vertical to horizontal.
Yeah.
As you track towards the meridian. And then so let's say you just continue to track past the meridian with a German equatorial mount. At that point, the counterweight bar and the counterweight gets to be higher than the telescope is. It starts to over rotate. And I don't know if you want to demonstrate that on the G11 there. Maybe you can show it. How the counterweight bar becomes horizontal as you point to the meridian. Right. So now the telescope would actually be pointing back towards the wall there, Scott. That's towards the south. Okay.
I'm gonna raise my camera up just a little bit so you guys can see.
So if you rotate the telescope so that you're pointing towards the south, which is rotated, so right now it's pointed at the North Celestial Pole, right?
Oh, okay. So you want to show it pointing towards the south,
Right.
right? So it would be
like that, right? So now, as you track past the meridian, it continues to move, and the counterweight becomes higher and higher, and at that point, it becomes a little unwieldy.
do this.
Yeah, you want to do a pier flip.
Right.
So what happens is, if you can rotate both axes and simulate a pier flip by doing both the deck axes, right, exactly. The deck comes around to point back north, and then it switches sides.
And then it's going to get it from the other side.
Right, exactly. That's a pier flip. And it's important as a beginner to understand that's one of the characteristics of a German equatorial mount, that like the PMC-Eight system is designed to allow you to track past the meridian in case you're taking images and you're in the middle of an imaging run. You can do that. You can track almost an hour past the meridian, depending on your configuration, but you don't want to go too far, because then you might contact the tripod or contact something on the mount, and you need to do a pier flip. Now, in terms of ExploreStars, what ExploreStars does is it tracks towards the meridian, and then as soon as it gets to the meridian, it'll initiate that pier flip automatically, and it'll start driving. And so you'll be in the middle of looking at something in the sky as a beginner. You'll be looking through the eyepiece, and you won't know that you're close to the meridian, looking at the moon or whatever it is, and then all of a sudden the mount will just take off on you.
Right.
You say, what the heck is it doing?
It's a little scary.
and it just moves around, and you say, what the heck, And if you let it go, if you don't stop it, you may be alarmed enough to where you want to just stop it or unplug it or whatever. But if you would let it go, if it's at the meridian, you'll see that it'll do that flip automatically for you, and should go right back to the object or close to the object.
Right. So some people are asking me how much the Maksutov weighs. This is a 20-pound barbell here. Okay. And that's this one. So that feels about 5 pounds lighter. It says that our website says 17 pounds. That might be including something else. I'd have to double check on that. Anyways, it's within the realm. So anyhow, we wanted to also talk a little bit about, we wanted to revisit the difference between point and track modes on ExploreStars. Now, Jerry, you often say that ExploreStars is not really, I mean, it wasn't designed to be a platform for astrophotographers. We know a lot of astrophotographers do use it. We envision people, hooking up to planetarium programs, or other such programs, or like Maxim DL, for example, to do to do astrophotography.
And we supply the ASCOM driver and the Indy driver for that.
Right. And so, what do you want? What could we tell them the difference between point and track?
So the point mode is like as a continuous pointing mode where the system. So first of all, with ExploreStars, you can do a virtual alignment where you do a 2 or 3 star alignment. That's what I call a virtual alignment, because what you're doing there is you're plopping the mount down, getting it close to north. You're not doing a physical polar alignment in any way. You're getting it close. And then what you're doing is you're initiating a 2 or 3 star alignment on ExploreStars. So what it does is it points to the first star, and you center it up in your eyepiece, and it records that data. Then you go to the next star. And then if you pick the 3 star, then you go to the third star. And you're basically, when you hit the enter button on those stars, it's recording data to create a mount model that corrects for the pointing. Okay, so now you've got the celestial coordinates are being calculated from where the telescope coordinates are. You're transforming the telescope coordinates where it thinks it's pointing to the actual celestial coordinates to correct for that. And that's what the mount model does. So now once you're in, and that's active during point mode. The mount model is active during point mode. So you can plop it down, do a 3-star alignment, and then when you go to an object, as the mount model is turned on, it'll go to the object and track it. Okay, but what it's doing is it's actually not only running the right ascension axis, it's correcting the pointing because the declination axis. Most people, well, I don't say most people, astrophotographers know that if you don't have a good physical polar alignment, you're going to have something called declination drift.
Sure.
Where the tracking is not correct. Basically, it drifts at declination, and also is not quite. It's not quite as a bad thing in RA, but you'll really notice it in declination.
Mm-hmm.
What the point mode does is it says, okay, where's the object now? And every 5 times a second, it recalculates a motor position based on the virtual alignment. Says this is where it's at. So it's tracking both in right ascension and in declination for point mode.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the problem with this point mode, or this point 5 times a second, is that for astrophotography, you get a little bit of jitter because it's actually like doing tiny little slews every 5 times a second. It's slewing.
It's trying to point.
That's right. It's like a bird dog. It's
Okay.
there it is, there it is, there it is. You
Right.
know?
Right.
And it's 5 times a second. So you'll notice that in your photographs if you're in point mode and you're trying to do astrophotography. And the other thing you'll have is image rotation, a little bit of rotation.
Yes.
So if you're going to use ExploreStars for astrophotography, we suggest you don't use point mode, that you put it in track mode, which means you just you even touch a button and it'll put it in track mode automatically, or you can toggle.
It has like the little P or the T symbol.
Right, you get it. Right, exactly. You get a triangle P that tells you it's point mode because it's got the arrow.
Right.
And then the square TR track mode is what you want to do when you're doing astrophotography, because that sets the rates at the sidereal rate or whatever other rate you set, and it's constant. So you don't have that jitter. It's just a jitter problem. That's why we don't suggest it for that.
Right.
You still have image rotation. If you haven't done a physical alignment, you'll still have a little bit of image rotation when you're in track mode, but
this would be over long exposures, right? I mean,
right. It depends on how tolerant you are to that and what your field of view and or your focal length is on your imaging. But it's very capable of usable. It's very usable, I should say, for astrophotography, except it's not designed for that. It's got plenty of margin in that regard. It'll work. You just have to understand how the system works.
Right. There was a question about, in your opinion, what is the best software to use for my computer for astrophotography? This is from Alex Nunez. Alex, we're assuming that you're using a Windows platform. What would you think? What do you guys use at the MSRO, Jerry?
What we use may not be the best for most people. It's because it's costs money. It's called MaximDL. It's a great program.
It's an awesome program.
It's we use it for the full observatory control system. So integrated into that is a camera control system. So what most people get when they buy, if you're buying a astro imaging camera that's got a thermoelectric cooler on it, typically the manufacturer like ZWO or QHY will provide a image capturing program. SharpCap is a very popular one. There's ones that out there. One's called Nebulosity that's free. There's a bunch of free ones out there too that you can find. Nebulosity, I think, is one. There's a program. I don't know. I think it's called Backyard EOS. That may be an image capture program.
Right.
There's Sequence Generator Pro, which I don't know if they have a free version or it's paid. I can't remember. I don't think it's very much money though. That's a great one. That's there's a lot of different image capture programs that also control your telescope. Sequence Generator Pro is one of those. That would be uh, a better application for overall use. SharpCap's more of a standalone program where you have to have a different telescope mount control program also.
Mm-hmm.
But you can find all ranges of programs. Most of them are free. I would say that Sequence Generator Pro is probably one of the top ones that you might want to try out.
Right. Tim Myers is saying Sequence Generator Pro is a paid program. So.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Eduardo Simone wants to know is Maxim DL similar to the Sky? Actually, no.
No, it's not.
It's
That's one
camera
thing that it
control
doesn't have.
with like a system built into it to go after objects. So it does have has a object library in it, but it's all about controlling the camera and image processing.
Right, and also the telescopes and the domes and everything. That's one thing that's interesting. Maxim DL does not have it's got a rudimentary planetarium program. It's very basic.
I see.
That's why we use Carte de Ciel along with Maxim DL in our observatory, because I like Carte de Ciel because it's very efficient, and you can load almost very high level professional databases in it, which we use at the observatory. It's very flexible that way.
Right. Right. Okay. Okay. Well, we are coming up to the end of our show. Let me see if we have any more questions or comments here. Ansel Puri is saying, do you see in the near future a scenario where the mount could be connected to a smartphone with Stellarium mobile app and the mount follows a GPS-enabled app to point to a desired location?
Yeah, I think we've
We're
announced
that.
this.
Yeah.
I think we've announced this on our forum that we are working with Stellarium Labs to provide native support for the PMC-8 in that mobile app. Yes. That might not be available. I've been working with I can't remember his name. They're in France. They were actually, I think I announced it on the forum, that they were looking for an intern to do some of that work early on this year. I'm not sure what the status of that with the pandemic and all that stuff going on, but we are working with Stellarium Labs to incorporate native support for the PMC-8.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Well, somebody wanted to know if the Mac is good for curling. Yeah, it adds some resistance here. There's a big, thick corrector plate up here, so. But it is most Macs are heavier than your average Cassegrain because of the thickness of that corrector plate.
Is that pretty balanced in its weight distribution?
Oh yeah.
That's a little different than a Schmidt Cassegrain.
Yeah, but
not back heavy.
It works out pretty good.
Yeah,
it works out pretty good. You can, if you're going to add a bunch of stuff on there, you could add a longer plate on the bottom, and you could also put a Losmandy plate on the bottom if you wanted to. So, but nice system, It's got a rotating focuser, and so it's kind of fun to bring some of this other equipment out for you guys to see. We'll do more of that in the future. But we wanted to thank all you guys for watching our show, and I'll just do another double check here. And Alex is again asking your opinion, what's the best software to use for my computer for astrophotography? Oh, no, I'm sorry. My message is kind of stuck there.
Well, I got an announcement. We're at $4.99.
Uh-oh.
On our members.
Uh-oh. What happens if we hit 500 before I close the show out?
I don't know.
We need to hit 500 to find out, I guess.
Yeah. Did one of you guys have somebody join or something? Is that what's going on back there?
I don't know. I'm going to approve this it's. I'm going to approve this member here. That's cool. So we're definitely going to hit it tomorrow.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in tonight. Thank you for all the thanks and comments and questions. And when we get Heath on tomorrow, we'll make sure that his audio's fixed. So.
Yeah, so I tried it again. Maybe it works.
Oh,
No?
there it is.
To answer your question, I've been here for a week and a half.
I'll bet you were like whispering.
No.
Yeah. So anyhow, guys, thanks so much, and we will see you later. And keep looking up.